as of now. But what kind of calories is a secondary question. But that's where it depends on your health condition and your specific health needs. And then claim statements related to prior to making a claim statements are whether nutrient led or food led. Effective amount, is it per day or per serving? How much should I take to get the benefits that you're claiming that your food will give me, right? And then population groups to whom my product is aimed at, if it is claiming for certain things, to whom it is aimed at. And the food context, in context of the total diet that I take. For instance, I may say you will get vitamin A as good as 400 grams of papaya from my fruit. So does that mean that I take your food and then don't take 400 grams of papaya? Or does that mean along with other foods that I am taking, your food will give beneficial effect? Or instead of taking the rest of the food, I just take your food and get the goodness of papaya? So in the context of the total diet that you're taking, it should be seen. Yeah, these are these are non-nutrient claims, that it is, bittersweet, semi-sweet, not sweet, unsweetened, and things like that. They also are present. But let's come to Indian context again. We have the regulation, as somebody asked. What about its success? It depends basically on 4 aspects as far as I consider. The first one is about buying the packed foods. How many people are buying the packed foods to take an advantage of the information that is there on the label and make a healthy food choice? That needs to be considered in Indian context. Most of us assume that there are very few people who buy packed foods, but it's not so. As Dr. Kalidas was already saying, we have small form, Kurkure, or maybe I don't want to name the brands, the salty foods and the snack foods that are available for 5 rupees and 10 rupees are available for 2 rupees in rural context. They've penetrated into rural markets very well. While we could not take our own fruit and vegetable into the rural markets, whatever is grown within the villages comes out to the cities for sale, the family doesn't consume it. So that's the reality. Yes, we do buy a lot of packed foods. And then education is most important, because as of now our labels are more more text driven. So they are aimed at literate population. Is there an alternative approach is what we have to look at. And nutrition literacy, I said most literate are nutritionally illiterate. That you should know what protein does to my body before I consider whether this protein is, this protein rich food that the manufacturer is claiming should be consumed by me or not. Okay. And user friendliness, how user friendly are your labels? So some of our studies that we've done, buying prepackaged foods, I said the first precondition for label to be successful as a public health tool is that we should be buying foods. How many are buying? In a supermarket intercept study that we've done in Delhi and Hyderabad, we've just caught hold of the consumers who were just coming out of the supermarket after buying certain packed foods, and then we asked them what all they saw, why they saw, how they chose certain foods and why not the others, and many such things. And then what we realized is at least 12% of consumers, they buy some or the other packed food on a daily basis. And it is very high among adolescents. If you can see, the adolescents, once in a week about 55%, and every day is almost like 16%, higher than the average. Okay, 44% reported that they buy once in a week, and then a quarter of them bought every fortnightly. But we are consuming, right? And then how many of them consider label information for buying packed foods? I asked you. 90% will say yes, I'll consider, but before the taste precedes your choice. Why a particular food? It is because of taste. Okay? And 87% consider the quality. That is more or less to the people, to the consumers, we realized is ensured with the brand name. And then label information is considered by 71%. We felt very happy. 71% people are actually checking the labels, and India has gone really making progress. Then when we did our focus group studies, we realized that people are indeed checking label information, but how many of them consider label information important for buying? 92%. But what is that label information that they are considering important? All 92% is the best before date. So of them, 40% always check labels before buying packed foods. They consider, 90% people say labels are important, but only 40% of them are actually checking it. When they check, why? For food, for safety, as I said, shelf life, 84%. For genuineness of the product, the brand name and other things, 45%. But just about 20% see the nutrition information. I am sure this crowd is no different from rest of India. Okay, only literates can read the label. Yeah, I said education levels and food labels. Our studies also have shown that there is direct relationship between literacy and the reading of nutrition information. In our studies in the schools that we have done, we have surprisingly seen that the parents' literacy has no relation with the children reading the food labels, because children themselves are literate in certain way, better than their earlier generation. And similar studies everywhere, the South Indian population that we've done, the focus group studies, and the Northeast region, we have seen a lot of people use, labels, where nearly 50% of the women reported read labels, only 20% are illiterate. You've seen that. Because there is more literacy, there is more usage of label information, and Northeast gets lots of packed foods because of the geographical terrain that they have got. The foods, the perishable foods cannot sustain for a longer duration, so packed foods which have longer shelf life are in demand there. And then positive association, as I said, between level of education and reading of labels. And nutrition literacy, it's not only our context, everywhere in the US, EU, everywhere people have said that people, even literate people, find the label information little confusing. They don't know how to make sense of it. These are some of the forms of labeling. In Indian context, we still have nutrition label as a numerical presentation. But in other places, people have tried out as the percentage of guideline daily amounts. That if I am supposed to have, say, 2100 kilocalories in a day, by consuming 100 grams of this food, how many calories I am eating? So I am able to make justice. But you should know that you should eat 2100 calories. That's a precondition. Right? How many of us know? Okay? Then people said, that could be a little difficult. So let us try out something like traffic light symbol. So if I am conscious about the salt that I consume, the salt is shown, if the salt is shown red on the label, it means it has more salt. For me, who is concerned about the salt, I should take less of it. If the calories are shown in red or amber, I should be watchful about the calories if I am conscious about the calories. Okay? The choice is left to me. But all these methods have also not yielded great success in many developed countries. So it's a combination of methods perhaps that we have to use. Okay, there is no clear consensus on which is the most useful form of labels. But in Indian context, we still have text-driven labels which we have not analyzed with different forms yet. Okay, but what do? We have to do health communication through food labels. Before we do that, we have to do communication about labels and for labels. Because we cannot assume that people do not know anything. There are people who are nutritionally conscious. There are people at different levels of motivation and practice. Reasons for non-use of labels from around the world, the literature shows lack of time. People don't get so much time to spend on buying food, because we get time for everything. We get time for our makeup. We get time for choosing the way we dress, the way we look. We get time to drive to a restaurant, say 1.5 hours away from our house. But we don't get time to read and consider what we are eating. So presentation style of information. Yeah, most people had problems with the presentation style. It requires some amount of knowledge. As I said, the elaboration likelihood model, you have to invoke the internal knowledge to understand what it is. Lack of understanding of the terms is told to be one of the most important things, and then lack of understanding of the role of nutrients play in health. What does having 2% trans fatty acids mean to me? I don't know. If I don't know, it is as good as not having that information. Okay? And then communication about food labels, nutrition education is a prerequisite. So that's where we have to start, right from schools, colleges, everywhere. As we have Indian heritage in culture compulsory, we should also have nutrition education as a compulsory module, wherein we instill some skills not just among biomedical students and dietitians and nutritionists, but also among normal adolescents to have those skills to buy right kinds of foods. Because it's a reality that we cannot now say no to the packed foods. So lastly, food labeling alone is likely to offer limited success as a public health communication methods, but can make small but important contribution. I know it's very difficult from where we are progressing in India, but it's never too late. Before I conclude, I'll just take you through some examples. So this is a brand of noodles, as they call it, foodles, if you know. You know, right? As this was, actually I took this example because I was telling my sister about this, and then my sister had told me some time back that she has 2 daughters. She said they like noodles a lot. You've been talking about diversification, dietary diversification, including multi-grain kind of, food. So she said this is the best option. This has got multi-grain, rice, wheat, ragi, corn. So children like noodles and it has multi-grain. So I'll give this to my children. I said, be a conscious consumer. There is nothing wrong with the manufacturer. Manufacturer has stuck to the regulation. They said multi-grain. They said why it is multi-grain. They put all the grain that they have. And to stick to the regulation, they have claimed that rice is there. Here, something called qualitative information display. If you are highlighting a particular food in your label, say orange biscuits you are saying, you are showing picture of orange along with your biscuits. In the ingredients list, you have to mention how much of orange is there. So they did that. Now carefully read the ingredients. Cereal flours, that is wheat, nothing but maida, is 75%. They said rice is multigrain, rice is there, 1.2%. And then corn, 1.2%. Ragi is 1.2%. So in 100 gram of multi-grain noodle, you are getting 1 gram of ragi. Imagine 2 kids are sharing 1 pack of noodles. 0.5 grams of ragi. And the label also very clearly says it's a nutrient claim. They are not saying that this product has nutrition. They are just claiming nutrient function claim. Ragi is a good source of calcium. He puts ragi is a good source of calcium. He is not saying my product has ragi and hence this product is good source of calcium. He only puts ragi, he is just giving a matter of fact. Ragi is of course a good source of calcium. How much of it is absorbable, how much of it is, and calcium is good for bones, we all know. So my sister assumes this has ragi as well, it's good for bones. So I'll give multigrain noodles. I said just turn to the ingredients and read. Then she said I won't give this. So 2 children sharing this pack get 0.5 grams of ragi, and how much calcium will they get to make their bones stronger? So it is all there. Isn't it there on the label? We just need to be cautious. And before we are life science students, we are consumers. And to see that any information or ensuring the quality of food that we eat is only a credence aspect of the manufacturer should go away. We should also be conscious. We leave it to the manufacturer, always blame the manufacturer, always blame the policy, how the policy is right, how the manufacturer is right. Manufacturer is giving the information as per the policy. Of course, there are manufacturers who also tend to take you for a ride. But if you are a conscious consumer, I am sure it will not. Look at this. This is, this brand, this label is not there, I think, any longer. There was some controversy, but still, it's a good learning exercise for biomedical students. It's a great tasting cereal. Okay, this cereal is equal to 2 chapatis plus 2 glasses of milk or calcium from milk. So there's a happy child. Okay? But please don't miss the asterisk here. Okay? Please don't miss. Comparison done on the basis of 30 grams of this plus 120 ml of milk already. Okay? 120 ml of milk plus this is equal to 2 glasses of this for calcium. Already you are getting calcium from the milk that you have added. Right? And goodness of 2 chapatis made from leading brands. Goodness is based only on vitamin A, C, B complex vitamins, iron and fiber. You don't eat chapatis for any of this. You eat chapatis for calories. Right? So it is not compared with the similar food. Since you assume my child is not having breakfast of 2 chapatis and 2 glasses of milk, you are promoting to the mother saying that this plus, I am not saying this is bad, but I am saying this is also not good. Right? And then unfortunately the source is nutritive value of Indian foods by NIN. We have not labeled it. They have taken the database on nutrient values of Indian foods, wherein the values related to corn or whatever cereal they've used is taken from a table, and then number of calories, number of fats and other things are put in this. Okay. Yeah, this is a great example. This calls it rich cashew biscuit, and I am sure every bite of cookie that you have, you will get one piece of kaju. And you are saying you are getting the goodness of kaju. It's as good as not eating 100 grams of kaju, right? I'm eating 100 grams of kaju. Of course, 7 to 8 cashew nuts is good enough for a day. But, we usually assume that cashew is, rich and also nutritionally rich. And then we consume it because of the good fat and other things that it has. Okay, then the rich cashew, if you go to the ingredients, wheat flour, sugar, edible oil, cashew bits, 4%. In a 100 gram packet, you have 4 grams of cashew broken into small pieces. So small that each of your, every bite that you have gets one piece of cashew. And you feel you're eating a lot of cashew. So we should be a little conscious. No, I'm not discouraging you from eating this. But I'm saying so if you're thinking you're eating 50 grams of cashew, you're mistaken. Okay? This is a great example. Look at this. Suitable for diabetics. And no added sugar, he says. Just look at this. Of course, this is a misbranding. This will be taken off the shelf. This would have been taken off the shelf. But this is some of the reality that we've got. Okay? This is a great one. This is fiber is digestive, high fiber digestive biscuits. They've got lots of fiber. They've got probably 16 to 20% more fiber than the regular cookies. Very good. Good for them. Good for us. But I have a problem. Unfortunately, per anion again, we've not branded it. But it says, what makes these high fiber biscuits better? Better than 100 grams of this biscuit, you have this much of fiber. Okay? Better than 100 grams of spinach, 100 grams of papaya, 100 grams of ripe apple, 100 grams of banana. So anybody who reads this, a lay consumer will say, I need not have 100 grams of banana, that is 1 or 2 bananas. I need not have 100 grams of spinach. I don't know how many stacks of spinach, 2-3 stacks of spinach. Because I am getting the goodness through this. But mind you, he is talking about only fiber in them. And you don't eat spinach for fiber. You eat spinach for iron, vitamin A and many other micronutrients. So it's comparing with wrong kinds of foods to take you for a ride. This has been discouraged and they have removed this label now. Regulation has taken care of this. But I'm just showing this to you as an example. Papaya, do you eat it only for fiber? Right. So these were some of the examples. And then if time permits, I'll take 5 minutes to tell you that in NIN what we've done is we've tried to develop a small education module on using food labels for adolescents so that they become conscious consumers, and what all is there on the label is taught to them, and practical demonstrations we've made it as a module of say a 4 interactions or 5 interactions based module, wherein we teach them or the teacher teaches them about the basics of nutrition and how they have to be applied to choose the food, especially using the label information. So we've developed a module called Read Before You Eat. I'll just share with you some of the, these are some of the posters that we've developed as part of it. It is called Read Before You Eat because the food label information has got everything. And there are a host of things wherein we also say if you end up consuming foods that are dense in calories and do not do physical activity, we say we're not seeing only in terms of eating, we are also seeing in terms of the holistic approach of physical activity and things like that. So this is what we say, the growing problems of this obesity and what is there on the label. Everything very clearly we mentioned that it is the brand name, the product image, and then this is an education module for the kids. Know what else is there on the label. And then food labeling and symbols that they should know. What do these symbols mean and where they can find them. And similarly, some of the examples that I gave you of, know what food is made of. So how to see the ingredients, why to read the ingredients and why it is important. And know important nutrition information, how it is represented and what you should know will be there on the label. And then health claims, how you should use them. Look at this example. This one also talks about 100 grams of this biscuits, milk biscuits, is equal to 100 ml of cow milk. But in what context? You see only vitamin D, B1, B2 and other things. So we say, nutrition comparison can be done with only similar foods in similar nutrients, but not with others. And it's all in the label. You see all this information is on the label. And then imagine foods. If foods didn't have labels, would you know what is there? Most people, when we showed these, we've masked the labels and shown them, they thought this is a washing powder. Okay? And say no to high fat, sodium and sugar foods, and that's where you can use your labels. And then we've developed some small animation films and things like that. We do not have time for that, and thanks for this opportunity. I should thank Dr. Raleigh and Dr. Anuradha, and of course Radhika for coordinating. And any quick questions if the time permits and the organizers say okay to that. I know I've put most of you to sleep by showing the regulation, but as biomedical students who would in future advise or take care of your own families, you should know some of these. So I said I'll show them.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
So my question would be in regards to the expiry date.
Yeah.
So during the sale time, most of the grocery shops would, give out their products in 50% off or 60% off, and we actually go for it. And when we go and see the expiry date, it has only 1 month left for the product to get expired. So, and seeing that there is 1 more month for it to expire, or rather a few days to expire, the customers actually buy them. So how safe is that, or is it actually safe to buy?
I said you should be sure about whether it is expiration date or best before date.
Okay,
so if there is still 1 month, it is safe. Even if there is 1 day for use by date, also it is safe. Even if you are consuming on the last day of expiration, it must be safe. That's what my knowledge tells me.
Thank you.
So you need not worry about that. But ensure that the product that has only 1 month from now as an expiration date is consumed within 1 month. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
And then the best before thing, I said you need not be worried about the best before thing, because it might not compromise the safety of the food, but I am not encouraging that you eat food, purposely select the one that is beyond best before date and eat it. No, it is not like that. Yes, please.
Nutrition whatever is there in the packaged one, but I don't know whatever is present at the homemade. So in this case, should I go for a packaged one?
See, the homemade curds is the packaged one. I am not talking about the curds. When I said all that is made at home is assumed to be safe. For instance, you are making a pizza at home with the cheese that is put, as much as cheese that is put by, say, a biggest vendor of the pizzas. I am saying it need not be safe. Safe not by the safety of the food itself. Safe nutritionally. What I meant. I cannot ask your mother to put a label on the curds that she makes at home, right? It is not possible. I assume that the curds is good. But what is made at home, if you assume that, if a samosa is made at home, it is very nutritious and very good, and a samosa that is made by a street vendor next door is unsafe, or a samosa that is packed by Haldiram's in a packet is unsafe, nutritionally, not food safety wise, you are mistaken. It is as bad as the samosa that your mom made at home. Perhaps you may have little better oil use than the street vendor, and I don't know whether Haldiram's uses the same or not. So it's for you to decide. And of course, as you said, there is also a move or a thought process which is driving the regulators to see whether the food sold in the restaurants also can be labeled. Some countries are trying it out. But there is always, these are proprietary foods. There is always a difference in the way your mom makes idlis and my mom makes idlis. And there is a difference in the way my mom makes idlis and my wife makes idlis. If I say the ones that my wife makes is better, my mom will not be happy. Similarly, the vendors, if the ones that is made by this restaurant is better and that restaurant bad, but for a standardized recipe, the likely calories, likely nutrient information is one thought process that is actually doing rounds. Perhaps we need not be surprised we get that along with a menu. Probably we'll get, this is a calorie dense kind of a dish that you're ordering. Be watchful. Some restaurants do practice it in other countries. Okay? But I know mom's yogurt cannot be labeled yet. Done?
Sir, I just wanted to ask you, what is the status of genetically modified foods in India, and what should be, how it should be labeled, and what are the requirements for
So if there is genetically modified foods in India, still there is a moratorium on them for some time. But there is a lot of food that is being imported from various countries. Just in case there is any GM ingredient in the food, it should be declared clearly on the label. And any food that is imported from outside the country should be relabeled by the Indian importer. Indian importer should clearly mention when it was imported and should again stick to the regulations of the Indian labeling scenario. And then in that context, it has to be clearly mentioned on the label that it has components from particular GM food. That's the current scenario.
So, but what are the requirements? Like, how is it, does it have to be mentioned, how is the GM product in the food better than the usual product?
Oh, there's a lot of debate on that. In Indian context, if I say GM is good for countering the undernutrition, there will be a group which says it is not good. If I say it is not good, there is always a group which says it is definitely one of the answers for the food security crisis. But as we say, it is not just the food security that we have to look at. As Dr. Shetty was repeatedly saying, it is nutrition security which is more important than food security. And these approaches, biotechnological approaches or food fortification approaches, should also factor in not just meeting the nutrition food security, but also nutrition security. That's the current debate and current understanding with most of the scientific community, if I'm not wrong. Right? Thank you very much.